Making it easy, making it fun. Search for your home in the land of the sun. Powered with homes.com, doing it right. With Slice of Florida, dreams ignite. Slice of Florida Realty, sliceofflorida.com.
The number one responsibility of a Florida real estate broker is to protect the public. That is a clear mandate from the state of Florida. You do not want to miss this episode of the Real Estate Agent Man podcast.
Real estate agent man, real estate agent man. Write down his cell phone number. Do not forget his name.
And now your host, Steve Martin Smith.
The number one job of a Florida real estate broker is to protect the public. You can look this up yourself. Florida Statute 475.001 states, the legislature deems it necessary in the interest of the public welfare to regulate real estate brokers, sales associates, and schools in this state. And furthermore, courts and legal analysis have elaborated that Chapter 475 aims to protect the public from potential economic loss caused by what? Incompetent or dishonest practitioners, by ensuring only qualified individuals with aptitude, ability, and integrity are allowed to practice. It could certainly be argued that not everybody practicing real estate is practicing honestly or competently or with integrity, yada, yada, yada. I also don't know how many brokerages out there actually focus on the fact that we are supposed to be protecting the public. That has stuck with me since my very first day of real estate school. They really hit that hard. Now, maybe it's because my dad was a police officer for 30 years, and, the Smith family has a long history of military involvement. So that mandate to protect the public, that really stuck with me. And it has shaped who I have been as both a sales associate and a broker owner for Slice of Florida Realty. Now, I shared all that with you today as an intro to the episode you're about to listen to, which will be Ian and Angela discussing a recent blog post on sliceofflorida.com. If you would like to go read it, it is there. And it may not necessarily seem like it's on this topic right at the beginning, but trust me, once it gets into the meat, you'll see it all tie in together. So here we go.
Welcome to the deep dive. So if you are preparing to navigate the largest financial transaction of your life, or, if you just want to understand how modern convenience can completely mask these massive legal liabilities, you are definitely going to want to pay close attention today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really crucial topic right now.
Right. Because today we are exploring the rapidly rising trend of DIY limited service real estate.
Which is just everywhere lately, honestly.
It really is. And our grounding source for this discussion is this highly detailed article. And the article is titled, "The Hidden Costs of Flat Fee Real Estate Listings." So the mission for our conversation today is pretty straightforward. We are going to peer behind the curtain of the $299 real estate listing.
Unpack what that actually means for you.
Yeah. We want to separate the incredibly slick marketing appeal from the actual, boots on the ground risks. We want to uncover what it truly costs you to save money up front. Okay, let's unpack this.
It is a vital topic to unpack, especially considering how consumer expectations have just fundamentally shifted over the last decade.
Completely. I mean, we live in an era where almost everything in our daily lives has been streamlined down to just a frictionless tap on a glass screen.
Right. Yeah. Like everything.
You want to ride across town? Tap. You need groceries delivered in an hour? Tap.
Yeah.
We have essentially been conditioned to believe that if an interface is simple, then the process behind it must also be simple.
Exactly. We basically equate a lack of friction with modern efficiency. If an action is easy to initiate, we just assume the execution and the completion of that action are completely automated and totally risk-free.
Right. But applying that one-tap mentality to selling your house, which is a process historically fraught with legal, financial, and structural landmines, that is where things get really complicated.
Oh, massively complicated.
Because suddenly there is a button for real estate, too. And I have to say, the immediate pitch of these flat fee and limited service brokerages is undeniably attractive.
Oh, it's very compelling.
Yeah.
The source outlines the model clearly. You pay a very low upfront cost. The author uses the baseline example of $299.
Just $299.
Right. And for that fee, the brokerage takes the photos and the property description you provide, and they just upload it to the multiple listing service.
The MLS.
Exactly, the MLS. That's the massive database feeding all those popular real estate apps you scroll through on your phone every night.
Yeah, that database is really the digital storefront for the entire housing market. By getting your property into the MLS, it syndicates out to thousands of consumer-facing websites globally.
Right, it's instant exposure.
And from there, any showing inquiries or interested buyers, they get forwarded straight to you, the seller. You are completely in the driver's seat.
Which sounds empowering, right?
Totally. Now, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. If these models are completely legal, which the source explicitly confirms they are, isn't this just a smart, long overdue disruption of an outdated industry?
That's the argument, sure.
I mean, why shouldn't a seller just use the digital platform to get the necessary exposure and keep all that commission equity for themselves?
What's fascinating here is the sheer mathematics of this bare minimum business model when you look at it strictly from the brokerage's perspective.
Okay, lay the math out for us.
The source breaks down exactly how lucrative this disruption really is. Imagine a limited service brokerage taking on 2,000 flat fee listings in a single year across the state.
2,000 listings.
Right, at $299 a pop.
Wow. So when you map that out, 2,000 times roughly $300, that is nearly $600,000 in top-line revenue.
Exactly. And here's the critical part of that math. They are generating that revenue with almost zero ongoing involvement.
Wait, really? Zero.
Pretty much. The broker can operate on a standard 40-hour Monday through Friday schedule. Once they enter your data into the MLS, their primary contractual job is totally finished.
So they just wash their hands of it.
Yeah, they become a passive data pass-through.
They are grossing over $500,000 essentially for doing specialized data entry during bankers' hours.
Oh.
That is wild.
Which reveals the massive service gap at the heart of this whole disruption. You're paying for access to a database, but the danger really lies in what you aren't getting.
What are you missing?
Well, the limited service broker takes no responsibility for educating you on contract contingencies.
Right.
They aren't helping you navigate complex financing requirements. They aren't verifying that you have the legally required property disclosures.
Oh, the disclosures are a big deal.
A huge deal. And they certainly aren't negotiating on your behalf when a buyer's inspector finds, a cracked foundation or something.
Right. And as anyone who has ever navigated a complex transaction knows, real estate crises do not adhere to a Monday through Friday schedule. They just don't happen at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday.
No. Deals fall apart at 8 p.m. on a Friday. They completely unravel on a Sunday morning over some frantic email.
Yeah, the weekend panics.
Exactly. With the flat fee model, if anything goes wrong outside of those standard business hours, or if it strays beyond the basic scope of that initial listing entry, the broker has zero obligation to step in.
Zero.
None. You need evening or weekend support to save a collapsing deal. It's simply not included in your fee.
They basically just hand you the microphone and walk off the stage.
That's exactly it.
This dynamic brings us to a surprisingly perfect analogy from the source material. It actually comes courtesy of the author's wife, Katrina, who happens to be a master hairstylist with 20 years of experience.
Yeah, the salon analogy maps onto real estate perfectly because it really highlights the illusion of simplicity.
So Katrina has spent years correcting mistakes made by DIY colorists, people who bought a box of hair bleach off the grocery store shelf. And the author says flat fee real estate is exactly like that box of supermarket bleach.
Oh, for sure. The business model tells you, hey, it's a simple application. Just put this on, follow the basic instructions, and you'll get the beautiful result pictured on the box.
Yeah. Right. You'll look like the model, but the problem is that the box doesn't know you.
No, it has no context.
Exactly. The box cannot account for what is already there. In the salon, the underlying issue is the chemical history of your hair. Like, have you dyed it black before? Is it heat damaged?
Right.
If you apply bleach without understanding that underlying chemistry, your hair doesn't turn platinum blonde, it turns bright orange, or it literally just melts off.
Which sounds horrifying.
It is. And in real estate, the chemical history equates to the hidden legal and financial contingencies of your property.
And Katrina points out that in both cosmetology and real estate, everything usually seems totally fine, completely smooth sailing, until the bam moment.
Yes, the bam moment. I want to dig into that. In real estate, what are the equivalents of the hair melting off? Like, what are the chemical histories that a basic listing platform just can't see?
Well, it could be an unpermitted addition. Let's say you enclosed a Florida room years ago without pulling the proper city permits.
Happens all the time.
All the time. So you put the house on the market yourself. A buyer makes an offer, and their bank sends an appraiser out. The appraiser notes that the county tax records say the house is 1,500 square feet, but the actual structure is 2,000 square feet.
Oh, boy. So the bank's underwriter sees that discrepancy and immediately flags it.
Exactly. The lender refuses to fund the loan because the collateral just doesn't match the legal description. The deal dies days before closing.
Wow.
Or another bam moment is a defect on the title. A previous owner's contractor filed a mechanics lien a decade ago that was never properly cleared.
Oh, that's a nightmare to sort out.
Right. Or you find out you are in a newly redrawn flood zone, which triggers this astronomical insurance requirement that pushes the buyer's debt-to-income ratio way too high to even qualify for their mortgage.
So it's the unexpected element. The variable you didn't even realize was a possibility, let alone something you needed a legal contingency plan to address.
Yes.
And when that moment hits, the financial reversal you face as a seller is staggering.
Truly staggering. Consider the irony highlighted in the source. You, the seller, chose the flat fee model explicitly to save money up front.
Right. You wanted to keep that commission equity.
Yeah, but when the deal starts going sideways, when the legal realities of a real estate transaction surface, it is way too late to bring in a full-service real estate broker to rescue you.
Because a full-service broker generally only charges a commission upon a successful closing.
Exactly.
If the deal is already botched, they can't just jump in retroactively and fix it for free.
So your only recourse at that point is to hire an attorney. Suddenly, you are paying a massive retainer and expensive hourly fees to a lawyer just to try and salvage a collapsing deal. Or worse, to keep yourself out of a breach of contract lawsuit.
Which gets incredibly expensive.
Oh, yeah. Real estate attorneys make a very good living litigating bad deals for sellers who initially thought they didn't need a professional to keep them out of trouble.
Wow. You try to save thousands in commission, and you end up paying an attorney hundreds of dollars an hour, and at the end of it all, your house still might not sell.
The costs spiral so rapidly, transforming what looked like a cheap option into an incredibly expensive liability.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The author doesn't just leave this as a theoretical warning.
No, he brings receipts.
He really does. The source provides these anatomy of a deal gone wrong case studies from the Venice, Florida market to prove the point.
Let's hear them.
So let's look at the first real-world casualty. There was a property in a community called Stony Brook.
Okay.
The flat fee seller had this property sitting active on the market for 2 long years.
2 years. That's an eternity in real estate.
Right. Finally, the author of our source material, acting as a full-service buyer's agent, brings this seller a fantastic offer. We are talking near full asking price, no seller concessions requested, and the buyers were even paying their own agent's fee.
Wow, it's a dream scenario. A golden ticket for a seller who has been waiting 2 whole years.
Exactly. The heavy lifting is done. They just need to navigate the paperwork correctly. But the seller has no professional guidance from their flat fee broker.
Right, because of the service gap we talked about.
So the seller takes this great offer to an attorney, paying those hourly rates we just mentioned, to figure out how to draft a counteroffer and handle paperwork he didn't realize he needed.
And this is exactly where the lack of specific local real estate expertise becomes totally fatal to the transaction.
How so?
Well, an attorney understands the law, but they don't necessarily understand the nuanced psychology of local market negotiations.
No, that makes sense.
So the attorney drafts a counteroffer for the seller, but includes a kickout clause that was completely unsuitable for these specific buyers.
Okay, unpack the kickout clause part, because the source gets pretty detailed here.
Yeah, the buyers had a legitimate house sale contingency, which the source notes is very common in Southwest Florida.
Right. For context, a house sale contingency means the buyers need the funds from selling their current home before they can close on the new one.
Exactly. And a kickout clause is a legal mechanism that allows a seller to accept an offer with a contingency, but they can continue showing the property.
Okay.
So if the seller gets a better non-contingent offer, they can legally kick out the first buyer.
Got it. But applying a kickout clause to a buyer who is already offering full price and covering all the fees, That creates a massive issue of trust, doesn't it?
Massive. It signals to the buyer that the seller is still actively looking to replace them, even after getting basically everything they asked for.
Wow.
Yeah, so because of this poorly drafted, legally aggressive clause, the entire deal died.
Unbelievable. The seller had the perfect buyer on the hook and literally paid an attorney hourly to chase them away.
Exactly. The mechanism of the law was used, but the strategy of the deal was completely lost.
The kicker is that those buyers just walked away and quickly closed on a similar home listed with a full-service agent, someone who actually knew how to educate her seller and successfully structure a deal.
It's tragic, really.
But let me push back on this framework for a second.
Sure.
This is the time that I'm going to remind you to subscribe and leave a review for the Real Estate Agent Man podcast. More than ever before, there is so much more to know about buying and selling your home. That is why we provide professional coaching to Florida sellers and buyers on every episode. We want our customers to have the knowledge needed to make the best decisions possible for themselves and their families. Our real estate team personally covers Sarasota, Charlotte, and Manatee counties. That's a wide area. However, Steve also interviews agents from around the state and the entire country to find great agents for customers that are out of the area. Visit sliceofflorida.com for more information. And now, back to the podcast.
But let me push back on this framework for a second.
Sure.
In a flat fee model where you are basically the boss of your own listing, doesn't the seller bear the fundamental responsibility to know the basic facts of the property they are selling?
I mean, yes.
Because you can't blame the database if you provide incorrect information about your own house, right?
That is a completely logical assumption, but it leads directly into the second case study from the source, which deals with an FHA condo nightmare.
Oh, the FHA one. This is wild.
It perfectly illustrates why relying on a seller's unverified assumptions is incredibly dangerous for every single party involved in a transaction.
Break down this FHA scenario for us.
Okay, so in this scenario, a flat fee listing is published on the MLS, and the listing explicitly advertises that the property accepts FHA financing.
Okay, and FHA loans are government-backed mortgages.
Right, and they have incredibly stringent requirements, particularly when it comes to condominiums.
Wait, so it isn't just about the buyer having a good enough credit score to get the loan?
Not at all.
Yeah.
With a condo, the federal government is basically underwriting the financial health of the entire building.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the entire condominium association must be federally approved. The FHA looks at things like the association's financial reserves. They typically want to see at least 10% of the budget in a reserve account.
That's a lot of red tape.
It is. They look at owner occupancy ratios to ensure the building isn't overrun with short-term rentals, and they even check for any pending litigation against the homeowners association.
Okay, so it is a highly technical building-wide compliance issue.
Exactly. But the limited service broker performed absolutely no verification of this claim. Nothing. They just took the seller's word for it, checked the FHA box on the digital form, and published it to the entire housing market.
Wow. So buyers see the listing, they make an offer, and they go under contract.
Yep. But during the financing contingency period, the structural truth finally comes out. The condo complex absolutely does not meet the guidelines to accept FHA financing.
So the buyers cannot get their loan.
Nope. The deal hits a wall. The buyers rightfully and legally cancel the contract based on the financing contingency, and they request their earnest money deposit back.
Which is fair. Here is where the fallout gets completely chaotic.
Right. When a deal cancels, the funds held in escrow need to be released. But the flat fee brokerage points to their limited service contract and claims they have no responsibility to mediate the release of the deposit.
They just wash their hands again.
Completely.
Yeah.
They state they need the seller's explicit, signed approval to let the money go back to the buyers.
Even though the contract clearly dictates the buyers are entitled to a refund because the financing failed due to the building's status.
Exactly. But because there is no professional managing the seller's expectations or explaining the mechanics of contract law and escrow to them, the seller just digs in their heels.
Incredible.
The source notes that it took months and the involvement of multiple attorneys just to force the return of the buyer's initial deposit.
The psychological state of the seller is fascinating here. Instead of realizing they made an unverified claim about federal financing guidelines, the seller misdirected all their anger.
Oh, totally. They called the buyer's representatives bad agents and even threatened a lawsuit.
They threatened to sue the very people who caught the compliance mistake.
That is the ultimate bam moment. The seller likely thought, I'll just check this FHA box to get more eyeballs on my listing, having zero concept of the federal legal mechanisms tied to that acronym.
Wow. So what does this all mean? When we look at these localized case studies and the reality of the salon analogy, we are really looking at a much larger debate within the real estate industry itself.
We really are. We are looking at the fundamental philosophy of what it actually means to hold a professional license.
The source material written by the broker at Slice of Florida Realty takes a very hard, definitive stance on this issue.
They do. They state clearly that offering flat fee services across the state would be incredibly lucrative for them as an independent brokerage.
Oh, the math proves they could easily do it and make a significant profit.
Yeah, but they deliberately choose not to.
Right. Their reasoning is entirely driven by ethics. The author states that licensed real estate professionals have a foundational ethical obligation to protect the public.
Exactly. The purpose of a state-issued license isn't just to grant access to a database. It is to ensure a standard of competence that shields consumers from harm.
They argue that it is fundamentally unethical and contrary to the core purpose of holding a real estate license to take a consumer's money under the pretense that they don't really need a professional's help to safely navigate the process.
This raises an important question, and it's a challenge the author directly levels at fellow brokers operating these minimal service models. Are you truly protecting the public? Or are you simply collecting easy money while actively downplaying massive financial risks?
That's a heavy question.
It is. How can a broker claim to protect a seller from devastating legal scenarios if they are simultaneously leading that seller to believe that full-service guidance is just an unnecessary luxury?
It's a powerful line in the sand regarding industry standards, and the author isn't just pointing out the problem, they offer a clear alternative model.
Right, at their brokerage.
Yeah, at their brokerage, serving Sarasota, Charlotte, and Manatee counties, they prioritize transparency and ethical representation over quick, cheap listings.
Which is refreshing.
It is. They provide flexible, client-focused commissions, typically ranging from 1% to 6%. But that fee is always paired with tailored guidance. You pay for a professional to navigate the minefield with you step by step, from pricing to closing.
It is the stark difference between buying the cheap box of bleach and sitting in the chair of the master stylist. You are paying for the expertise to handle the complex history of the asset and the legal complexities of the contract before they blow up in your face and cost you thousands in legal fees.
Well said. To you, the listener, the core takeaway here extends far beyond just deciding how to sell a house.
Right.
Whether you are navigating real estate, dealing with a legal dispute, or engaging with any high-stakes complex system, this source serves as a vital warning. The cheap, upfront option, the one that removes the friction and promises a simple DIY path, almost always carries massive hidden liabilities.
Oh, yeah.
You aren't just saving money, you are personally assuming all the risk.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it forces us to reflect on the digital era we live in. We frequently confuse having access to a platform, like simply being able to upload photos to an MLS database, with actual mastery of a process.
That's such a good distinction.
Right. Knowing how to navigate complex legal liabilities, draft a proper contingency clause, or verify federal financing eligibility. They're just not the same thing.
Access does not equal expertise. Just because you can log in doesn't mean you know how to fly the plane.
Exactly. Which leaves you with a final thought to consider. As you look at the broader economy, we are seeing a massive societal shift where risk is quietly being transferred from institutions to individuals.
Oh, totally.
We see it in retirement planning, in healthcare navigation, and now, as this source highlights, in real estate transactions. Are we as consumers blindly accepting all the legal and financial liability in exchange for the short-term thrill of saving on a professional fee?
Yeah.
It is worth asking yourself, where else in your life might you be taking on massive, uncompensated risk disguised as consumer empowerment?
Because as we've learned today, just because there's a simple button for it doesn't mean you know how to defuse the bomb on the other side.
Making it easy, making it fun. Search for your home in the land of the sun. Powered with homes.com, doing it right with Slice of Florida. Dreams ignite.
for listening. This has been a Real Estate Agent Man production by Steve Martin Smith.
Making it easy, making it fun.